Hey there, everyone. I'm Tony from the Marathon Mates. This week, we are sharing our stories of running alone as we head towards our next big challenge at the Gold Coast. We've gone our separate ways and are now training by ourselves. On this episode, we're going to provide you an update on our journeys and describe to you some of the differences that we're finding when we aren't training with our respective partners. Are you ready to run? Let's go.
Welcome to the thrilling world of the Flying Runner, brought to you by the Marathon Mates.
Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to the Flying RuNR Podcast, our 47th episode. As many of our long-term listeners would be aware, myself and my co-hosts usually train and race with our various partners in crime. Respective partners in crime is probably the better way to put it. Recently, we've gone through a bit of a running separation of sorts, and we're now, all of us on screen, are training by ourselves as we prepare for the Gold Coast Marathon, which is just 6 weeks away. On this episode, we're going to share our experiences of going it alone, as well as sharing some of the highs and the lows that we're experiencing. But before we do that, let's introduce my co-hosts. We've got Tim and we've got Tara from Teal Ellis Running. How are you guys?
Hey, how you going? Good, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going well too, Tony.
Good
And
to
yes,
hear.
we are running separately, but even tonight, Tara and I are in separate rooms. So I'm not at the home tonight. I'm somewhere else for work. So yeah, we're running and podcasting separately.
And Sharon is out there doing some yoga. So with our son Tim. Now we're how's I'm no, but I'm a bit all over the place. The run sheet's a little bit different to normal. So because we're talking about all our training a little bit later on, we're not going to give you a training update. But before we go to the news, we've had some listener feedback this week. So Tara, I'm going to throw to you. Who's made contact with us this week?
Yeah, thanks, Tony. We've had a lovely listener called Shaylee. Shaylee's from North Queensland, I guess you'd call it. So she had a quick question about one of our previous episodes, and it was specifically what Tim was saying about getting the gunk out of his legs. Now, Shaylee's actually currently training for her first marathon and was concerned she is missing out on something. You're not missing out on anything, Shaylee. So I actually responded back to Shaylee regarding what Tim means by gunk, and because we are so used to our own little special talk, I guess you'd like to call it. Tim, do you want to explain what gunk in your legs really is?
Yeah, it's probably a different term when it's translated into Japanese or Swedish or Middle Eastern or anywhere else, people listening to us. But yeah, gunk is essentially that heavy feeling you get in your legs. It's a buildup of lactic acid that accumulates in your body over time. It becomes, I guess, embedded into your muscles there. And what we find over a period of time is it makes your legs feel really heavy. It makes your fatigue levels sort of increase when you're running. It's that sort of heavy, unwanted feeling that you get in your legs. So when we talk about getting the gunk out or removing the gunk, one of the ways we do that is obviously through remedial massage, which we've talked about numerous times. It helps break up the muscles, loosens them up, and gets rid of a lot of that material out of your muscles. And obviously, flushing your system with water and drinking lots of water and staying hydrated helps with some of that. But really, that's what the gunk is. It's nothing special. You're not needing to buy anything different or train any differently, because it's just a part of exercising and running and fatiguing your muscles as you build up the distance and stressing them out, I guess, over time.
Yeah, I always look at gunk as something that makes my legs feel like I've got concrete blocks strapped to my feet, or my legs are wading through water, like that knee-deep water, and I just can't seem to lift my legs up. So that's when I know I've got what Tim calls gunk in my legs.
Copyright Tim Ellis.
Yeah. I'm sort of visualizing like a gel, and you create a little snippet and you squeeze the gel. That's like getting the gunk out of your leg. So just
It's a bit like that.
I wish it was
Very
that
much
easy. Yes.
And so we've had another listener.
Yeah, we have. So we've had some feedback from a listener called Henry, and we appreciate that very much, because he was actually quite concerned regarding my health during the Boston Marathon. Now, I just want to reiterate, and we've done this in the previous episode and the one after Boston as well. I am in no way promoting what I did and how I performed at Boston to be in any way, shape, or form that anyone else should be doing. I am an experienced marathon runner. I had Tim with me the whole entire time. We know what my body can and can't do. Yes, I was in a probably a state that most people should pull themselves off with. However, I do know my limits, and if it wasn't a race in Australia, I would have pulled myself out of. There is a lot of money that goes into Boston, as we know, and Tim was keeping an eye on me at all times. So the reason why I refused medical help on course was I knew that as soon as I accepted it, I would have been pulled off course. Tim was keeping an eye on me the whole entire time and ensuring that I was moving in the way that I was. So the reason why he was holding my hand and keeping me in the right position is because I was very tired, and so I was stumbling. And as everyone does get when they are tired, they do stumble. However, Tim was with me, and I was 100% fine. That night, I actually went out, had some food, had a beer or two, and bed. And I was back to normal the next day. I do not ever recommend to anybody to push their bodies to a limit that they can't do. So, but thank you, Henry. We really appreciate that. He is a medical professional as well, so he was just concerning about that. However, all marathoners will hit a wall. And I just wanted to reiterate that marathon running is not an easy sport. It is not something that you just go out and do. You actually need to train really, really hard for it. And even when you do train really hard for it, like I have, things go wrong. And you have to accept that, and you have to make a plan for when things go wrong. So that was really what I was trying to reiterate there, is not to replicate what I did. It was more that marathon running is a tough sport.
Yeah. And you're ultimately in the safe hands of Tim. So, and it really is about everyone hits the wall and everyone does it in a different way. And unfortunately, some of us hit the wall a little bit harder than others at time. But it's just about understanding yourself and understanding your limits. I mean, you can go onto YouTube or Instagram or any of the video sites, and you will see runners hitting the wall 10, 15 meters from the finish line, or people suddenly almost there and then just hitting. We do not in any way, shape, or form encourage any runner to go past their limits. But the reality is that you need to know your limits. And when you're with someone that does, it certainly makes it a little bit more safer for everyone else. So
100%. We could have hidden some of that detail from people on the podcast. We could have shied away from it, but we made a conscious decision, Tara and I, to show the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that is what this sport is. It's a brutal sport. We have run past people that have passed away on courses before on marathons that have gone beyond their limits. But yeah, whilst Tara did it very, very tough, I was with her at all times. If it was just her by herself, I'm sure she would have made the right call at that time, or at least, been forced off the site, off the course anyway, by one of the medicos on the site. But because I was there, the medicos could see that I was monitoring her.
And
And
Tim, they've trained as well in CPR and first aid. That's something that he keeps himself up to date with. I've got medical knowledge, having a medical science degree as well, so I do actually understand what my body can and can't do.
absolutely. And we love hearing from our listeners. So please send us a message if there's anything that you want to hear from us in future episodes. You want to share your journey, or you just want to add some commentary. More than happy to hear it. And as you just heard, we'll talk about it on the podcast. So just send us a message through either Instagram or Facebook. And now it's time for the news. All right, Tim, what's been happening around the world this week?
Alrighty, thanks, Tony. This week, this happens numerous times throughout the year where marathon organisers just don't seem to be able to get some courses right, and this is another example where runners sort of ran extra distance on a course, and in this case, it was at New Brunswick's Fredericton Marathon, which is in Canada. It attracts hundreds of eager distance runners from all over the Atlantic side of Canada. And apparently it's a fast, flat course, so it attracts a lot of Boston qualifiers or people who are aiming to get a Boston qualifying time. So this year's race was held on the 12th of May, so only a week or so ago. But unfortunately, the course itself was considerably longer than the 42.2 kilometres for around about a third of the runners. Apparently, the course marshal at the turnaround point at 14 kilometres showed up more than an hour late, leading many participants to run an extra 3 kilometres, which means that more than 150 runners in the marathon and the half marathon were affected by this mistake. So the race committee has now started reaching out to the half marathon and full marathon finishers and are issuing formal apologies and explaining the mistakes. So I get it. Somebody slept in. They turned up late. They didn't do their job. I get that. But how hard is it to put a turnaround cone at the 14K mark with a flag to say turn here? Do you really need to have the official there to do it? I don't know. I don't know all the details, but it happens way too often. And you would be really annoyed if you're a 42.2K runner. You've gone and done all the training for it. You've seen this as the one event that you're targeting for a Boston qualifying time. Yeah. And then you find out as you're running it that you're running 3 kilometers further than you need to, which for some people that equates to making or not making the cut for next year's Boston. It's probably their only time this year they're going to have the opportunity to fully train for it. So an apology is great. They're going to get an apology, but it doesn't make up for all the hard work they got. And whilst we're all volunteers, and I don't ever put down the volunteers at any race. In fact, the race I just did on the weekend, I was thanking every volunteer as I ran past them. I do it every week at parkrun. I do it everywhere I go. It's not that hard to just put a cone out or a sign to say turn here and do it when you're setting the course up.
It was an interesting one because, you know, I can't fathom the reality that they started the race without one of the key people in positions. But from what I can understand, it's a 2-loop course. In the first loop, the turnaround point was shorter than the one. So there's turnaround point for loop 1, turnaround point for loop 2, which is 1.5 kilometers down the road. So, so people were running past the first turnaround point, which is where the marshal should have been, and then turning around at the turnaround point for loop 2. So yeah, just it's disappointing to see that. And you're right, everyone's entitled to sleep in, but I sort of think, wouldn't you have like walkie-talkies or something saying, is everyone in position? Jim, where are you, Jim?
Come in, wake Jim. Up, Jim. Or we got a deputy marshal. You're appointed as the deputy marshal to step up or whatever. I don't understand in this day and age, modern technology, everything else, why they can't do it and why they don't have a car out in the lead somewhere that can drive up the road and put the cone where it needs to go or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, these things happen. It happens, as I said, more than once a year at races around the world. Fortunately, I've never been in a race that's been like that, where there's been an overshot of the distance or an undershot of the distance, but it happens way too often. But anyway, on to the next news article. So there's been some good news. The 2014 Boston Marathon winner. Here we go. I get a name here. Buzunish Deba has finally received her prize money from a stranger after waiting more than 10 years following Kenya Rita Jeptu's doping bans. So the 2014 marathon, Boston Marathon, was run by the Kenyan Rita Jeptu, who was later found to be doped up and subsequently had her title taken off her. But unfortunately, Buznush Deba was promoted and fortunately, she was promoted to the winning podium and was officially announced as the winner of the race. But she didn't receive the prize money, which is quite substantial for winning Boston Marathon. In 2016, she was accredited as the official winner. And she's had to wait till this year until she received her money, but it wasn't provided to her by the Boston Athletic Association. It was given to her by a fan of the sport, an individual who is a businessman, and I'm just trying to find his name here. He's a Philadelphia businessman. Doug Geyer has read her story, found out she didn't receive the money, and has decided he would donate it and pay it out of his own pocket. And he sent her a check for $75,000, and he's also considering paying her the remaining $25,000, which she's owed as well for the course record. So the Boston Athletic Association has said that they do have plans to pay her the money, but they're waiting for Jeptu to pay them back, and they haven't received the money from Jeptu, the doper, to get it back. So I find that quite a silly thing as well, that one organisation, the BAA, which is, to be honest, isn't doing it tough that much when you see how many people are out there and how much merchandise is being sold and all the rest of it. But they're struggling to pay $100,000 to a past winner just to make sure she's looked after. And particularly a lot of these athletes do it tough. They're not all multi-millionaires at the top end. Most of them are only surviving thanks to the generosity of their sponsors. So, I think that's good, and I think it's a big shout out to Doug Geyer who gave her the money.
Absolutely. And the final bit of news, and I'm going to say it because I'm pretty excited about this. One of my favorite athletes is Safan Hussein, who is running in Paris for the Olympics, and she's running the 1500, the 5000, the 10,000, and the marathon. So I keep saying this lady is going to change the world of running. And all I can say is that's a big ask to be running 4 events at the Olympic Games.
That is huge. That is huge. I tried to work it out today at work when I was at work when you sent me this message. So for 1500s and 5000s, I believe they have a heat, a semi-final, and a final. So 1500 times 3 is 4.5 kilometers. 5,000 times 3 is 15 kilometers. And I think for the 10,000, it's a heat and then a final. There's definitely 2. So that's 20 kilometers. So that's close enough to 40 kilometers just there. And then to run the marathon, which is 42 kilometers. So all up, she's running about 80 kilometers in about a 10-day effort. I think the track and field program is about 10 days at the Olympics.
Yep.
It's just crazy that she's even contemplating that. And there are going to be days there where she'll have a heat in the 5,000 in the morning and a semi-final or final of the 5,000 of the 10,000 or the 1,500 in the evening. How's she going to do it? I don't know, but crazy.
I think everyone's going to be watching with interest. But if anyone can do it, Safan will. So it all looks. The Paris Olympics is just going to be amazing. I mean, you look at Kipchoge and who's the other? Akili. They ran they faced off against each other in their very first Olympics in the 10,000 meters, and now all the way back now they're running the marathon. So there's a storyline. So unbelievable.
Tara, people think we're crazy because we do the triple down the Gold Coast, but could you imagine doing 80 kilometres of racing in, less than 10 days?
No, that's an SJ type thing. Sarah Green will do that without a problem. So not me, but yeah, not me.
All righty, let's get on to the topic for today. So this is all about running alone. So we're doing it alone. It's home alone, it's train alone, it's everything alone. So guys, how's the training going? What's your training plans for the next 6 weeks leading up to Gold Coast?
Sorry, Tim. We're still training alone. I'm not running the same sort of distances that Tim does. He happily trains to 35 kilometers for his marathons. I'm probably going to only hit around about 25 or so for this training block. I'm trying to preserve the body for later on in the year. If I make the Gold Coast in a certain time, then that's fine. My aim is just to finish all 3 races. So I don't really care too much. I know that I've got the distance in my legs, my muscle memory's there, and I'd rather just take my time with it. So it'll be an easy training run for me. But we did do the GC30 race over the weekend as a bit of a training run, but Tim can talk about that one.
Yeah, so GC30, 30-kilometre race. I did the 30K. Tara, you did the 15K race. And for me, it's a good head out. It's about 7 weeks from the Gold Coast Marathon weekend. And it's my first, every year I do it, it's my first opportunity to step up to the 30Ks. So gone to 25 in the training. I should have gone to 27, but missed that and gone to 30. But yeah, it's a good hit out. The race went well for me. I had a twinge in my left calf, and that's an overtraining injury that happens when I train, and I can talk about that a bit later on. But was able to work through that injury as I was running. It's not really an injury. It's just a tightness in the calf. Was able to keep running at a reduced speed, and the tightness then disappeared through the race, and I was able to keep going. So I was very happy with it. I wanted to go out in the first 15Ks at about 5:30 pace. I wanted to come home in the second 15Ks at about 5:45 pace. That would bring me in about 5:37 overall. And I ran it in 5:36 pace. So it was probably the most evenly paced run I've ever done. I got to the end of the first 15Ks after backing off the pace a little bit with this twingy calf, pushed it back to about 5:40 and just held a nice consistent sort of a pace from there all the way to the end. So I was really happy with it. We got to see our good friends Terry Frew and Jen Kellett from earlier episodes on here as well. So it was good to see them, and they're in their final throw for Comrades, which is coming up shortly. So, but yeah, our training is going well. We are training differently, both Tara and myself. We both have different goals. Obviously, when I'm running with Tara and training for Tara, I'm backing off my pace quite a lot. Things like Boston, I don't think really affected me too much. I was on my feet for a lot longer, but it was a lot less impact because I was running a lot slower, a lot more walking than what I'd normally do. So I've come out of Boston and I've been able to really accelerate into my training program, whereas Tara's come out of Boston and she's really starting to just hold her form and hold her distance and maintain her body a bit more. So we are on 2 different programs. We are doing things a little bit differently, but all with the same goal of being able to get to the start line at Gold Coast and be able to do what we're doing, which is the Gold Coast Triple. So how about you, Tony? How's your training going?
Well, weekend was really weird because I set off on Saturday to do 18K and ended up cutting it short at 12 and a half. I had the trifecta. I had a headache, I had a tummy upset, and my legs were heavy. And so I pulled up stumps about 1 kilometre from the car on one of the loops that I was doing and just walked around. So went back on Sunday and completed an 8K, but I was more irritated about it than anything else, the 8K on Sunday. So for whatever reason, I'm just tired at the minute. And, just talking a little bit off air with Tim before, it's been a big couple of years for us. And getting through Tokyo with the ankle that I had was just a massive effort when I reflect back on it. And the ankle's still not right. It still plays up. So yeah, I think it's just I'm looking forward to 2025. We're only going to do one marathon in 2025, and now it's just about just working through what it is that I've got to do. So probably a bit of a quiet week till the weekend, and then of course we got the Brisbane half coming up the weekend after. So, and Sharon's just pushing through. She's starting to get some miles into her legs and starting to feel a little bit better about where she is. She ran with Tim on the weekend, our son. So
Not me.
yeah, so they enjoyed that while I went out on my own. So for both of you, and we'll start with Tara, I guess. So how are you coping going it alone, and how is it different for you when you don't have Tim as your running partner?
Yeah, it is. It's very different, actually. I think I can run with Tim. We talk a lot, and
Tara talks a lot.
And
I
I think
can't.
whoever you're running with, Tara talks a lot. Yeah.
I can't keep up with Tim's pace when I'm talking, so I find that I actually get out of breath quite a lot when I'm running with Tim because I'm talking so much. So when I'm running by myself, obviously, or when I'm running with anybody, because Tony knows because he's run with me as well. When I run with anybody, I do talk. When I'm running by myself, I can actually keep a more consistent speed because I can keep that heart rate where it should be. And I'm just sort of in my own head instead of focusing on what everyone else is doing as well. So I actually enjoy running by myself as much as I do enjoy running with other people as well. But I find that I can keep a more consistent pace. Over the weekend, I did the GC 15 and I kept that at a very even, consistent pace. Now, I did have stomach problems where I had to end up in the toilet twice, which is usual for me. But anyway, I still kept a fairly consistent pace the whole entire way. So training, racing, I'm getting back to where I want to be, which is nice.
Yeah, it was a real confidence builder, wasn't it, yesterday, Tara?
Yeah, it was.
Tim, you've mentioned a couple of times that you're now living away from home on weekdays for work purposes. I couldn't imagine what that would be like from my aspect, trying to slot in your training as well as obviously you're missing the home life. So what's motivating you during the week to get out there and do the runs by yourself?
It's hard. It is hard. So normally if I'm at home, Tara and I will, wake up. One of us will push the other one out of bed if we have to, and we keep going. Most of the time we're pretty good when we're there, but this is harder. I'm by myself. I'm in a unit by myself. There's no one else here. It's dark. I don't have a treadmill where I'm used to running on a treadmill, where I can access the treadmill. So I have to go outside on the roads to do my running. Last week was quite a wet week. I didn't want to get slipping over, in a race week and do some damage or roll an ankle. It's dark in many sections. Not that bothers me too much, but my vision and rolling an ankle or injuring myself is not something I want to do. So it is a little bit more challenging to do that and get up. At home in winter time when it gets cooler, like it's starting to do now, I would just get out of bed and walk straight out of a nice air-conditioned warm house and into the garage, which is pretty warm, and straight onto the treadmill. Here I've got to go outside, so it's colder and a bit different. But at the same time, I've got other things. The project I'm working on, we've got a run club on that project. So Tuesday nights we go for a run as a run club. I've just made contact with a friend of ours over the weekend down here on the Gold Coast, and she said, "Well, come with me on a Tuesday night because I've got my run club, and we'd love to have you come and do that as well." So, but it's probably not a bad thing either because it has slowed me down a little bit. If I was at home, I'd be on the treadmill sprinting out every session, whereas now I'm on the road just taking it a little bit easier on the weekday runs and then putting more effort into the long day run. So it's a little bit different, but I'm coping. I'm getting through what I need to get through, and I don't think it's affecting me too much. So yeah, I'm okay with that.
Excellent.
And how about you? You're I guess how you're able to get out by yourself, because you're obviously not running with Sharon now. So I guess you go out together at times and then do
Yeah,
some running, and then other times separate.
we get out mainly for a walk of a morning, but sometimes we'll put in a little run in that as well. So we still do that together. But our weekend runs are very firmly separate ways at the minute, and has been probably since I started this block. So we've been running. Sharon had an extended break because of some dramas that she's got with the shins. So, but she's back into it. Yeah, it's different to what we're used to, and as you know, we do compass runs, and even that sort of shifts a little bit because we're taking 2 cars down so that we both have access to our drinks during our compass runs. So yeah, it's different, but the one thing is we'll often see each other as we're doing our respective loops, and gives you the chance to do the high five or the little tap as you go past. And yeah, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, when we run together anyway, it can often be we're not the talkative type. We'll just put our heads down and go. It's just the fact you've got someone there, I think, which is the main aspect for us. If we do talk, it's often about arguing about, as you know, we Jeff, and so don't start yet, the timer hasn't gone, and for me, I get into the rhythm of when the timer goes. So I'm normally taking off a little bit faster. Oh, sorry, a little bit before the timer goes off, and Sharon gets up me for that, and then the timer goes off, and she's got to join me anyway. So, but yeah, we enjoy running together, and we enjoy those little arguments that we have out there as well. And it's actually one thing that you miss when you're not doing it together. But anyway, it's
I guess what we're talking tonight about is stuff that every other runner probably has in their life. Not everyone has the relationships like we've got, where we've got partners that we run with, that we live with. And so what we're talking about tonight is largely what everyone else is experiencing. So we're probably seeing what other normal runners, other runners out there are doing. So it is a bit different, that's for sure.
It was interesting. Sorry, it was interesting on the weekend. The previous weekend at Wynnum Park Run, I'd met Hayden, this guy called Hayden, and he dressed up as Princess Leia at the week before at Cleveland Park Run for May the 4th. And it was interesting because when I saw him we were out and about, and we obviously run in the same area, and I've seen Hayden, and Hayden's running to catch up with this group of runners, right? So I'm thinking, the old wave as you go past, and that was about it. But then when I caught up with him the second time, he's right in the middle of the pack of runners, and they're just talking like I had to double take just to see if Tara was there. They were talking that much, but they were just gas bagging. So while people don't necessarily have a running partner, often you'll see them in their community groups, and they're doing exactly what we do when we're out and about running with our partners, talking, sometimes joking, sometimes getting annoyed with each other, whatever the case may be. But you see that community aspect. And I guess for a lot of those runners, if suddenly they'd lost that community aspect, many of them would potentially feel quite lost. And I guess this is why the show we're doing tonight talks a little bit about some of those strategies. So let's talk a little bit about those strategies, because it's daunting not having your partner or your training partner beside. So what are some of the mental strategies that you use when you don't have that person beside you? So whether you're talking or whether you're arguing, or just having that person beside you, what's the mental strategies when they're no longer there? Let's start with Tara.
I guess the most important thing is to have a routine. So if, say, for example, Tim and I when he's home, we were running together on Tuesday mornings, Wednesday mornings, and Friday mornings. Always run together. It's mainly about keeping that same routine, even though Tim's not there with me. So setting the alarm, making sure that I get up, and just don't have Tim beside me, but just keep going. Mentally, I do it because I know that Tim is doing it wherever he is. So I'm thinking, well, if I don't get up and do it, Tim's going to see on my Strava that I haven't done anything. And Tim's probably thinking exactly the same thing. Tara's going to see that I didn't do it. So it keeps us honest as well. And I did post a thing on our Teal Ellis page. I'm really lucky that we do have a treadmill here at home that I actually enjoy getting on. I know a lot of people don't, but it does keep me honest. It's mentally, it's easier for me to get on a treadmill and just run, especially being a female, going out in the dark, it's a bit hard. So it's little things like that. Also, like if you do have as Tony was just saying, a group of friends that you can say, I'm going to meet you at 5:30 in the morning. Let's go for that run. Absolutely. Do whatever it takes for you mentally. But yeah, for me mentally, I just know I'll be letting myself down, but I'll also be letting Tim down, even though he's not with me. That's how I think anyway.
Yeah. And I think that's the right same for me. I always know that there's Tara in the background watching what I'm doing and making sure that I'm being held to account. But I guess for our long runs, we still do our long runs together. We drive out to where we go for our long runs on a Sunday. And whilst we're not running together, I'll go off at my pace and do my distance. Tara will do her distance. We start and finish at the same point. It's an out and back course. So one of my motivations is always when I'm running it, geez, I don't want to have Tara waiting for me for too long at the end. I better keep going. Or if I'm running her through it, it's like, well, is Tara coming up around the next corner? Is she somewhere on the course? Can I see her and can I catch her and can I run past her? So there's a bit of catch and chase type stuff there as well that I'm thinking about. When I'm doing my long runs, though, yes, it can be daunting. It can be quite hard to find motivation to go out and run 25 kilometers by yourself solo, or 30 kilometers or whatever it is. But that's when I'm practicing my race strategy, right? When I'm a race, right, I might have 25,000 other runners around me, but at the end of the day, I'm running it by myself. So I'm practicing that mental side of it when I'm running. I'm focusing on the kilometer I'm in. I'm looking at the pace regularly. I'm trying to make sure everything's clicking the way it's meant to click in my body, making sure that there's no aches and pains, keeping my form right, keeping my head up, focusing on keeping my head up, keeping my breathing right, keeping my heart rate lower. So all those sorts of things are the things I'm thinking about when I'm running. I'm doing the maths in my head. Am I above or below the pace I want to be running at every time a kilometer goes by? How much, time have I got up my sleeve? Should I slow it back because I'm going too fast? All those sorts of things that most other runners think about, that I'm usually thinking about a lot of the time when I'm running with Tara, I'm still thinking about, but I'm thinking about it more in a strategic race type point of view. And then, I try to bring some other fun into it where I'm running. I'll see another runner 100 meters, 200 meters in front, and it's like, well, can I catch that other runner between now and the next kilometer marker, or can I, catch up to them and have a chat to them and give myself a break for 5 minutes while I have a chat while I'm running past, just to keep myself ticking over. So Tara's talkative. Yes, I'm talkative, but I'm more talkative as far as saying hello to other people as I pass them and wishing them well and saying you're doing a good job and being supportive of other runners. So it's hard to motivate myself, but again, I just try to focus on each session being more like a race and practicing those race tactics. What about you?
What about me? I'm just thinking about what I want to achieve in Gold Coast fundamentally and really, really do a test. And so every time I run by myself, I'm finding that I'm quicker, I'm more consistent as to where I am, and ultimately my body's getting used to a different style of training because I'm not jeffing, I'm running, and it does create a little bit more impact on me than what the old Run Recover does. So, but yeah, that's what's motivating me, knowing that I'm closer to actually being able to have a real crack at something that I believe I can achieve. So that's my motivation. But hopefully, I'm motivating Sharon as well, because she, I have a lot of faith in her ability, and I believe that if she can see that I can do what I'm setting out to do and achieve it, that that she can actually do it as well. So that's part of the process for me. So um, training by yourself, have you incorporated things into your training that you normally wouldn't do? And have you noticed, I've just mentioned my changes that I've seen in my running ability, but have you noticed the same thing? We'll start with Tim. So what are you doing in training that if there's anything new that you're doing?
Nothing too new for me other than increasing the pace. So one of the things I struggle with, and I do this every year when I move away from training with Tara and into my own space, is I build up the pace too quickly. I build up the distance quickly. My body can handle the distance. My body can't handle the increase in pace. And as a result, I'm overloading muscles. So I mentioned before I had a tight calf. That is that overloading of muscles from increasing the pace too quickly and not building up the strength in the legs and rebuilding it there. The strength there, it'll come back, and the tightness in the muscles will disappear in the next week or two. But I've just got to take it a bit easier now that I've overloaded it a bit, and just back it off until it strengthens up. So nothing really different apart from just increasing the pace. And again, as I said, you want to do it gradually. You don't want to go from running 7-minute pace like I do with Tara, or 6:30 to 7-minute pace, to then running at 4:30 pace. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to injure yourself. So it is that gradual increase. It's about getting quicker week by week if you're doing that. But it's, listen to your body.
Tara?
I personally find that, as I mentioned before, Tim and I are always talking, so that actually leaves me out of breath, and I find that my rhythm's not quite the same as what it would be if I was just running. So when I'm by myself, and Tim, I feel really bad for him, because I actually quite often will do start-stop running, a bit like jeffing, but not really. So I'll get to like 5Ks and I'll be like, right, I'm just going to walk 100 meters here instead of running consistently. Tim will run the whole 30Ks without stopping with his training runs. So that's another thing that is different for him.
Yeah.
I am somebody who's like, oh, there's a toilet, I'll stop at that, because that's just me, right?
Yeah.
So I have those as my little rest breaks, but I run more consistently at an even speed when I am running by myself, mainly because I don't have those, talking problems.
So let's talk a little bit about body maintenance, shall we? Because and once again, it's different when Sharon and I normally do our strength and stretch work on the lounge room together. When there's a boring show on TV or something, but even that changes when you're doing it by yourself. And of course, you two have just come out of Boston, and the training block leading into Boston, you kick straight into a new training block. What sort of body maintenance work are you doing to prevent injury?
Tim?
Oh, well, for us, it's the usual. It's getting the regular massage, the remedial massage, getting the gunk out. But for me, I've incorporated weights now into my training, which I haven't done for quite some time. Yes, I would do some, body exercises where I would, push my butt off the floor or stretch out some legs or whatever. But where I live now, in the complex I'm living at for work, there's actually a gymnasium here on site. So I'm incorporating that now at least once a week, doing some weight work, particularly lower body, core, glutes and legs, which is a bit different for me, but it's a weakness that I know I've had for a number of years. Particularly, I tend to find in the later stages of marathons, from 30Ks onwards, I'll tend to get really tight hamstrings and glutes, and that's all linked to weakness in those muscles. So I'm hoping now with a bit of strengthening work that will help me overcome some of that when I get into Gold Coast later on and be able to run through some of those times instead of starting to then, slow it back a bit. So, see how it goes this year. But I know in the past when I have done weights, I've actually performed better when I've been running. So that's probably the only difference I'm doing. Tara?
Yeah. I'm doing Pilates. I'm trying to do some cross training as well. So getting on the bike or squats, lunges. Mondays I do strength and stretch, so it's just body weight strength work. But yeah, I do a lot of reformer Pilates and stuff like that, which obviously Tim won't do, and that's fine. I'm happy to do things by myself. So that's my body maintenance, obviously, as well as the remedial massages and stuff like that. So yeah.
So from a safety point of view, has there been any changes on how you manage your safety? And we'll start with Tara.
In regards to running by myself, I am very cautious about running by myself. So Fridays, if I'm going to run outside, Patrick, our son, will run with me. And that's during the day or morning. He likes to run as well. He's training for the half marathon at the Gold Coast, so that's not a big deal for him. It's good company as well, but it is a safety aspect. Females, our area is very safe, but yeah, I've got two overprotective males in my life, unfortunately. Well, maybe fortunately. So Tim and Patrick are both very protective. Otherwise, I'll run on the treadmill. The treadmill's, and I guess that's why I do like the treadmill, because I've got my own independence and freedom to run. On Sunday mornings when we run separately, it is dark when we start. However, where we run, there's like hundreds of other runners. So we've made a really good running community out there. Most people know us out there, and I feel 100% safe. It's a well-lit area. But but I'm always cautious of what's going on around me. I keep open ear headphones on, so I don't have the enclosed headphones. I can always hear what's going on around me as well.
Yeah, we also live track each other on our Garmin watches. So if Tara's got an issue, I know where she is, and I can see where she is. And on top of that, if you fall over and you collapse, Tara, your watch will automatically ping me and dial me straight away. But yeah, you're right. Where we are, there's no dark spots. There's no hidden hidey holes for people to come out. You're always in view of somebody within 50 to 100 meters. There's always somebody walking in that time of day when we're there. So we're reasonably safe and confident that Tara is going to be safe when we're out there. But it is something we're always cautious of. I'm the same. Somebody could hit me up and have a go at me as well. But good luck. I'm 6'4" and almost 100 kilos. So I don't know. Maybe that's attractive to somebody, but who knows? But it is just one of those things. We always got it in the back of our mind, and I'm very conscious of it.
Yeah, and interesting you mentioned open ear headset, Tara, because I run in. Sharon and I both have Shocks open runs, and that keeps the ear open. But even before we had those, we would always just run with one earbud in, so that we weren't completely closed off. And I look at so many runners that run, and even in congested spaces like South Bank that have over-the-ear headphones, and they've just got no idea of anything going on around them, and they are, unfortunately, that is a risk for them, because whether it's running into someone else or not hearing a bike or a car, or worst case scenario, someone actually jumps them, the reality is that you should always be aware and have some methodology that you can listen, but you can still hear things that are going on around you. So let's tie this one up. What tips do you have for our listeners or our viewers who may be looking to run alone in the future?
Well,
Tim?
I'm going to give this one a miss because there's a Tim's tip on this in just a few minutes. So I might turn the question back onto you and to Tara. What tips do you guys have for people that want to run it alone?
I always. Sorry, Tony.
Yeah, know why you're doing it. So that would be the number one tip that I have, is if you are in a position where you are needing to run alone, just understand why you're doing it, and really draw on that, because it can be challenging. It's mentally straining. It's tougher than having your mate beside you. So just understand your why. So, Tara?
Absolutely. And my tip is exactly the same. Know why you're doing what you're doing. Don't just go out and run because, you want to Instagram it or whatever else is happening in the world nowadays. Also, if you are running alone, be aware of your surroundings like we've just talked about. Don't go into dark spots. Make sure it's well lit. This is for males and females. Just be aware of your surroundings, but also, if you are running alone, enjoy running alone. Enjoy that time to yourself. Don't run with music if you don't want to. Go with your own thoughts. Enjoy it for a time that's got no technology, no screen time, and just enjoy the noises around you, enjoy the scenery that you're in, and enjoy just running. Enjoy the body movement and feeling your body move the way it should move.
Yeah,
100% agree. Running should be fun, and that's why you're doing it. You're doing it for fun and enjoyment, as well as the other reasons why. But if you don't run because you enjoy it, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, find something else. So before we finish up, we always get a tip from Tim. So he's already alluded to this one. So Tim, what's your tip for the week?
So very similar to you guys. This one's around, and we've said this, I don't know how many times now, probably a million times. It's about listening to your body, especially if you are doing what we're doing, where we are stepping it up and going our own way, but with our own focus on goals. So if you are stepping it up, it's really important that you do listen to your body and you don't get so wrapped up in your thoughts around, I've got to do this plan, I've got to hit this target, I've got to hit this pace. It's really important that you start off a bit slower, get into the groove of these things, and then find the pace, the faster pace as you go. As I said earlier, body is going to fatigue. You're going to get overloading of the muscles. You're going to get tightness in muscles, especially if you are starting to speed it up a little bit more, a bit like what Tony and I are doing. So you are going to have down weeks, like what Tony's just described about his week this week. It's been a bit down. That's natural, and that's a normal part of the training program. And the thing is to back it off on those down weeks when you are feeling a bit fatigued. Listen to your body. Your body's strong, it will recover, and you'll be able to bounce back a lot quicker. So, and on top of that, do the things we've already said. Get that body maintenance stuff done. Get your massages. Take some easy weeks. And if your body's telling you it's tired, like what Tara's body's telling her, it's a little bit tired, she's backed it off. She's gone from a 30K race down to a 15K race. She's easing it up with some of her training, but she'll be right when it comes to race day. So definitely listen to your body. Take it one step at a time and slow it down before you go fast.
Great advice. We're just about to come to an end, but Tara, what's happening next week?
I'm really looking forward to next week. Next week we've got Claudia. She's a very special guest and a good friend of ours as well. So Claudia Stevenson is a visually impaired athlete. She's done the London Marathon just recently, and last year she actually ran the New York Marathon as well. So we're going to hear from her on the experiences of how she copes being a visually impaired person that runs and travels. It's a big challenge compared to what you and I or anyone else normally would have. So she has a guide dog, Poppy, who obviously can't go overseas with her. So how does she manage these different things and all of that sort of stuff? So she's very inspirational, lovely person, and we're looking forward to having her on next week.
Sounds awesome. Can't wait. So thanks, Tara. That wraps us up for this week. Video of the episode will be available on Spotify and YouTube, and audio, of course, is on Apple, Amazon, and most other popular podcast platforms. If you have liked this episode, please write a comment. Feel free to reach out to us and say g'day, share your thoughts. We love hearing from you. Remember, every step forward is a victory. Lace up, hit the road, and we'll catch you on the next episode of The Flying Runner. Until then, happy running.
Happy running.